welcome to a new video series in which we are going to discuss our very unique HYPR-7 Riflescope in detail, from a basic overview of how everything works, to initial setup, to integration with Bluetooth rangefinders and our Element Ballistics app, and everything in between. We're going to break this down into a number of episodes, starting with this one, an introduction and overview, and of course we'll create a playlist on YouTube so that you can move on to the next video and watch them all in order. It may seem quite complicated as we get into it, but actually the whole concept of the HYPR-7 is to make things easier for you. We want to remove the process of, ranging, measuring external conditions, calculating a firing solution in mils or MOA, and then dialing in that firing solution, and basically allow the scope to handle all of that for you, so that all you have to do is get on target, press a button, and aim where the scope tells you to aim. Yes, it may take a while to get used to the system and understand how it works, but that's mainly because it's so different from a traditional rifle scope. So let's start right there. What is the HYPR-7 about, and what are its main features? HYPR is an acronym for Hybrid Precision Rifle Scope, and the 7 designates magnification. The word hybrid explains what makes this so unique. It's an optical rifle scope with a digital display. Why would we want to do this? Well, there are strengths and weaknesses of a fully analog, i.e. Optical and mechanical system, and there are strengths and weaknesses of a fully digital system. Traditional rifle scopes, like the other models we make, the Helix, Titan, Immersive, Nexus, and Theos lines, these have a series of lenses that you look through. The light enters the objective, it is bent and manipulated a bit, but it reaches your eye at the speed of light with no lag and with relatively little loss of resolution and dynamic range. Inside, you'll have an erector tube or a prism that is physically moved around by the turret to reposition the reticle, which is basically an etched piece of glass, and that is how you adjust before you take a shot. This is a tried and tested system that works extremely well, but it doesn't have much flexibility because you are stuck with the same units on the turret, the same reticle, and no way to change anything. Digital rifle scopes work quite differently. The image that's in front of you gets captured by a camera or a sensor, it's processed by a processor, and then it's displayed right in front of your eye on an actual viewfinder with a digital reticle overlaid. Now, this has its place because sometimes these sensors can see things that the human eye just cannot see. Think of like an infrared night vision unit or a thermal unit. But they also have their weaknesses. For one, there's going to be some lag because the image has to be processed before it's displayed. This is quite power intensive, so your battery doesn't last that long, and there's going to be resolution loss. Everything's displayed on a screen that has actual pixels. There's also a loss of dynamic range. You might lose detail in the highlights or the shadows when you have to pick up this image, process it, and display it. The human eye can see a much wider range of wavelengths at the same time. The HYPR-7 is our attempt to take the strengths of both systems and combine them into one. With the optical system, you're getting the image picked up by your eye, which is the best sensor you can possibly have. It's reaching your eye at the speed of light with no delay, but you've got the flexibility of a digital canvas on which you can basically project anything you want. This means that we can have an infinite amount of different reticles in any unit you may require, from more complex to dead simple, and even a live BDC reticle that the scope creates in real time that gives you precise hold points for your exact ballistic profile. You can even draw and upload your own reticle. An added benefit is that because the energy draw is so little, the battery will literally last you days of continuous use or weeks and months of normal use. And because there's no turrets that take up space inside the scope, we're able to achieve a pretty awesome field of view as well. We can also integrate this device with other devices like rangefinders, which can work with the HYPR-7 to provide an instant firing solution that can be projected on your reticle in the form of a flashing dot telling you where your predicted point of impact will be, and the Element Ballistics app on which you can easily change settings, update firmware, and create new ballistic profiles. The scope even has its own weather station underneath over here with its own barometer, thermometer, hygrometer, and inclinometer. It's pretty insane. So let's take a moment to orientate ourselves and to look at the actual scope in a bit more detail. In the box, you'll obviously receive the HYPR-7. On the HYPR-7, there will be a tilt adjustable uni mount. This will come with 2 different base lengths, which you can switch out. This one is a little bit longer. It's got 3 cross bolts here. There's also one that's a little bit shorter. Both of these are very rigid. You can decide which length you prefer. We do include a couple Allen keys. We include a rubber eye cup, which might just make this a little bit more comfortable if you want to put it against your eye and help you to see things like the display a little bit better. There's a rubber lens protector for the ocular lens. On the scope itself, you'll also see a small accessory rail section. This can be shifted from the side to the top to 45 degrees like you see it here. And the point of this is if you want to fit a red dot, you can fit a red dot, but mostly this is for external range-finding module like this, which you can attach on and actually zero so that you can look through the scope, press a pressure switch, and actually get a real-time range of whatever you're looking at downrange. So that really makes the scope quite interesting and speeds up the process of obtaining a firing solution. We'll talk about this in a slightly later video. The scope does have an ND filter in the front, which you can flip up or down. And of course, you'll get a very chunky instruction manual. The manual will cover much of what we'll be talking about in the rest of the series, with instructions of how to properly set up a scope and navigate the many features, so please do read it. The scope itself has many of the features that you'd expect from a traditional rifle scope. We've got an ocular lens at the back, which you can adjust to focus to your eye. You've got a normal parallax knob that you'd expect on any side focus optical rifle scope. We've got a 50mm objective lens, but we've also got a few things that might be foreign to you if you're not used to sort of unusual rifle scopes like this. On top, the big red button, that's the power button. You'll use this to switch the scope on and off and to access the menu. You've got a mode select button on the side, which you can use to switch your input modes and control what your main dial does. And then you've got the main input dial, in which you can program in your range that you're shooting at, adjust brightness up and down, input windage, and navigate menus. The battery is housed in this compartment right over here, and at the bottom you'll find the weather station where all your sensors are housed. The uni mount is tilt adjustable with 160 MOA of travel, and there's a further 81 MOA of travel within the scope itself. In the next video, we'll look at initial setup. What are the first steps that you need to take when you remove the scope from the box for the very first time? We will link a full playlist down below if you want to watch everything in order, and we hope you found this interesting. Thanks for watching.